We're here today with Nancy Little, who is a 1996 graduate of the Rehabilitation Counseling Program, and we're pleased to have Nancy with us today, and she'll be talking about what she currently does and also about her background. I mentioned that she's a 1996 graduate of the Rehabilitation Program, but before that time, she worked as a rehabilitation counselor in the Rehabilitation Agency for the state of New Jersey. And she currently is working for an organization called Horn Richardson and Associates. So as is my custom, I'm going to turn this over right now to Nancy to talk a little bit about her background and to introduce herself, telling us what she did and where she has worked. So Nancy, thank you for being here today.
Okay. Nice to be here. Well, as you said, I graduated in 1996 from the Rehab Counseling Program here at UK. I had worked as a rehabilitation counselor in New Jersey prior to that, and then moved out here to Kentucky with my husband when he was transferred with IBM, and stayed home for a little while with my children, and then decided to get back into the field, and that's when I returned to school. When I was here at UK, I thought maybe I would look into something other than going back into public rehabilitation counseling. So I was able to, through some mutual friends, I learned of Horn Richardson and Associates, which is a private rehabilitation company. It's a multidisciplinary company. There's speech pathology, physical therapy, occupational therapy, social work, psychology, and now case management also in that group. And Donna Horn, who is the owner, was very gracious to allow me to do my internship there when I was still a student and try to develop some kind of rehab counseling program within their group. It took a little while to get something going there. Currently, I am working now with the First Steps program, which is an early intervention program, and I'm doing case management for them, and I'm really actually running that program within our office. And I also am a case manager for the interdisciplinary assessments that we do out of our office, and that's coordinating with school systems and other referral sources and pulling together a team to do an assessment. So those are primarily the two areas that I'm working in. I have a caseload of about 35 families, and the First Steps program is geared to children from birth to 3 years old that have either an established risk diagnosis or a developmental delay. And this program provides services for families and for the children in areas of speech or physical therapy or occupational therapy, nutrition, psychology, behavior. There's a lot of different areas that they provide services. And the service coordinator, which is what I'm doing, and we have several others in our office that are also doing that, actually works with families to get the services that they need and helps them access other services, helps them just with understanding maybe the diagnosis or helping them when they have to see the doctor. We might also go with them to the doctors. We help try to get them into the other services that they might need in the community. There's just a variety of things that we do. And then when the child turns 3 and they exit this program, we also help them get into the next program, which is usually through the school system. So we help them with that transition process.
The First Steps program, is that a state-funded program?
Yes. Yes, it's a state-funded program operated through the Cabinet of Health Services. And
how does somebody go about becoming a service provider, a vendor for the First Steps program?
First Steps program. You do have to attend a training that's required. You also have to, and it's free of charge. And then you would have to, once you've had the training, have your put in your your background information, your whatever your licensure or whatever your certification is, to the state, and then they kind of review that, and then you're determined eligible, I guess. You can be an independent provider for First Steps. You can do it solely on your own, or you can do it within an agency. So, in our case, the agency is the provider.
In terms of the qualifications, do they have certain criteria for qualifications for people to go through the training?
Yes. To be a service coordinator in First Steps, you have to have at least a bachelor's degree, or you would have to be qualified and licensed as another discipline, like a speech pathologist or occupational therapist or something like that. Or if you have your bachelor's degree, then you would have to have at least 2 years experience working with children in this age group of 0 to 3.
So it sounds as if, since you have the rehabilitation degree plus the experience with Horn Richardson, that would qualify you.
Right. I had actually my experience that I had some experience working in a daycare, and so I had that experience that helped qualify me. But the rehabilitation counseling degree is very, very useful, and it's very helpful, and it really fits right in with this kind of work that we're doing, this kind of case management. The training that you get in just managing a caseload and knowing about services and resources in the community and that kind of thing, and then also the counseling classes are really very helpful, because you're going to use all that in this.
Yeah, you mentioned being a case manager.
Mm-hmm.
Is this part of the First Steps program?
No, that's a totally different contract, if you will. That is started really through the Human Development Institute, started doing interdisciplinary assessments, and we at Horn Richardson, the therapists there, were actually doing these, and they decided they did not want to actually coordinate those anymore, and we took on coordinating them as well as actually performing the assessments. So now I do the coordination of that. So I get the referrals in. I talk to usually it's a lot of school personnel that makes those referrals, and I talk to them, try to find out what they're looking for, what the need is, and then I try to put the team together that I think will best serve their needs, and then get that all organized.
Now, where does the funding for this program come from?
Various sources. Mostly, we're getting most of them now through school systems, mostly school systems in eastern Kentucky and other parts of the state that don't have, maybe because they're a smaller school system, they just don't have the personnel to do these kinds of assessments on site. You know, a lot of your larger school systems are doing them themselves, but some of the smaller ones aren't. So we get a lot of referrals from schools. We can get referrals from self-referrals sometimes, but usually sometimes I'll get referrals through Protection and Advocacy. Sometimes I've gotten referrals through them. It just depends. And
the age range of the individuals who would come for services?
Any age. We, as a group, serve all ages, up through young children up through adults, and through the interdisciplinary assessments that we're doing. We are, as I say, we're getting a lot of them through the school system, so we're seeing a lot of school-age children, all the way up to maybe almost 21 that are ready to transition out of school, and then we can get adults too through that.
Okay. Now, you say that you coordinate services. Will this include things like speech assessments and physical and occupational therapy assessments? What about medical assessments or vocational assessments?
We'll do vocational assessments. If there's a vocational assessment that needs to be done, then I will do that myself. And I have done that with some of the school systems already. If there's a medical assessment that is needed, we do have connections with some physicians, and we'll make referrals over to some physicians. We actually do have a psychiatrist that will work with us within the interdisciplinary assessments that we're doing now. So we have that, but most of the time we'll be making those referrals out.